Hey, Matt Wilson here. It's time for another video. This time I'm going to do the Soft Machine. Haven't done a Prog video in a while. They seem to do well when I give you guys what you want. So I haven't done a Canterbury band since Caravan. That was months ago. I'm a big Canterbury guy. So here we go with the Soft Machine. The Soft Machine were one of the original bands to come out of Canterbury, along with Caravan, Gong, you know. This is years before people heard of, you know, Steve Hillage or any of the Canterbury prog bands would come along in the 70s. So the Soft Machine are about as legit as Canterbury gets in terms of, you know, being original, who was there first. They're originally like a psychedelic band. Now, Soft Machines 1 and 2 I have on this Big Beat CD. I don't know if these albums have ever been properly remastered elsewhere. I'm sure they have. I read somewhere, probably on the Hoffman site, that these that this disc is as good as you can get these albums to sound. This is back when the band was just you know, Robert Wyatt and Kevin Ayers and Mike Ratledge. Give me 1 second. Yeah. They're a psych band here. I don't really have a preference for which one I like the most, Volume 1 or Volume 2. They were progressive in that sense, in that late 60s sense. Even here. They're both good without being classic. I mean, I can think of plenty of psychedelic albums I enjoy more than this, but it's also essential UK psych for that time. You know, these guys toured with Floyd. These guys toured with Hendrix. I tried to get me a poster once of, it was a concert that took place right here in LA of Soft Machine and Jimi Hendrix, and I can't remember who else was on it, but it was out of my, you know, price range. But I do recommend this album and this one. If you don't like their proggy stuff, this might be the only Soft Machine that you own. All right, but my favorite one, well, actually, let's hold off on that because that's 1970. Okay, so Kevin Ayers was the first to break off. He releases the, you know, semi-classic Joy of a Toy album in '69. This is a psychedelic album too, but it also has that whimsical thing, you know, that Canterbury is known for. It's progressive, you know, without being out and out prog. I think Ayers gets a pass when he is considered prog by a lot of people just because he's likable and he came from the Soft Machine and he was progressive in that sense. But not prog as in sounding like Yes, Genesis, Crimson, Floyd, you know, whatever. This is a great album though, Joy of a Toy. I like it at least as much as I like the Soft Machine albums in the 60s. Okay, my favorite one though of the Soft Machine is Third. This is a double album. This is the last one that they would have vocals on, you know, Robert sings one, and it is, some of this is live too. It is progressive and it's becoming prog too. It's also a bit of jazz fusion, which they would practically become a fusion band after this. This could be, it's hard to say, this could be my favorite prog album of 1970. I mean, you know, when you get into the 70s, there's so many great years, so many great albums. In 70 alone, you know, there's the debut albums by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Gentle Giant, you know, there's still, you know, Crimson did 2 albums, you know, but I think I enjoy Third as much, if not more, than any of those albums. So pick this up if you're at all interested in Soft Machine. It is a bit avant-garde, you know, people are surprised sometimes when they get in Soft Machine and realize that some of the stuff is not as listener friendly as one might like. Okay. Shooting at the Moon, Kevin Ayers and the Whole World. He got his name with the band The Whole World. There's another good one. You know, it's a solid Kevin. You know, in terms of my Kevin Ayers albums, I'm stopping at 74 because this is what I have. I got this little 5 CD box of 1, 2, 3, 4, his first 5 albums, and they're all solid. Some of them are very good, you know. So there you go. This is, I'm not going to say that this is as good as, you know, Third, or maybe even Fourth, you know, but it's still, it's a solid Kevin Ayers record. Okay, Soft Machine 4. All right, who we got on 4? It's Ratledge, Wyatt, Hopper, and Elton Dean. All right, because of course Ayers is gone. Ayers wasn't even on the 3rd album. This is the last album that that Robert Wyatt would drum on. You know, he left the band. They're a fusion band pretty much by now, a proggy fusion band, but it's great. It's great stuff. If you like jazz, you know, you'll like this. And you run out of things to say though about these songs because they don't have vocals. You know, some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, some of them you like more than others. But these are albums meant to be experienced as albums, as LPs. All right. You want to know what the British could do with the fusion genre? Here you go. They're not trying to be Mahavishnu, you know, or Weather Report if you want to look on this side of the pond. But it's a particularly Canterbury kind of take on fusion. And yeah, I love it. I can throw on any Soft Machine album and enjoy it. Yes, some are better than others, but I mean, okay. Kevin Ayers, let's look at this title right. Whatever She Brings, We Sing. All right, another pretty good one. Another pretty good one. Let's see, is this 71 or 72? 71. November, and Shooting at the Moon was 70. I should have told you that. So Kevin's still going strong. Doesn't really need the band, the Soft Machine rather. Never really looked back. I don't believe he ever came back and did an album with them, but I'm sure Soft's fans can correct me. You know, good stuff. You know, you have to get accustomed to his voice, but it's rather pleasing. You know, he has that baritone, and he always has this sense of humor and irony in his music. And again, none of this stuff is stuff that you're going to hear on the radio, not U.S. rock radio anyway. But that's to our failing. You know, I mean, I always say that with Prog. Now Robert Wyatt had a solo album in the early 70s. I don't have it. I only have, you know, select Robert Wyatt albums to show you in this video. And the first solo one, well, it's his band, Matching Mole. He did 2 albums with Matching Mole this year. I like them both. Probably prefer this one. You know, he has a rather kind of fey voice, some would say effete, but it's part of his charm, again. All right, it's part of his charm. He had his accident in the early 70s where he fell out of a window and was paralyzed, and he's been in a wheelchair ever since. But that did not stop him from having a career as a musician. So, well, I'm not gonna, you know, break my tradition of not going over the songs here, but I do like "Oh Caroline," and that's all I'm gonna, you know, lots of bonus tracks, 2 discs, remastered. I do recommend that Matching Mole album. We're in 72, so we have Soft Machine 5. Probably not as good as the 4th album, but still good. This is the first one. Now, let me tell you who's on this one. I got all my little notes here. This is Ratledge, Hopper, Dean, and Phil Howard on side 1. Ratledge, Hopper, Dean, and John Marshall on side 2. You know, so they're changing personnel on the drums. 5, rather minimalist. Still good. Still good. No problems. And before the end of the year, the second Matching Mole album. This is the Little Red album. Yep, the Little Red record. All right. Also like this one. This is more avant-garde. This is, you know, like some more really hardcore fusion, but like with some abrasive guitar tones. I like it because I like all this stuff. Robert sings again. So if you like the first Matching Mole album, get this one because I believe that they only made 2, right? Only made 2. Okay, I guess it's a Soft Machine 6, right? Yep. This is 73. They made 2 albums in 73. Yeah, okay, so 6 had 2 discs, but I guess it's on one Yeah, it's on one CD. This is Ratledge Hopper, Marshall, and Carl Jenkins. All right. Some of this stuff meanders a bit. I'm going to say this might be my least favorite Soft Machine album, but it's, I mean, you know, it's a double LP of proggy fusion. You know, that might be a lot for someone to handle, but not if you like the Soft Machine like I do. All right. So that was their first double since the third one. And also in 73, Banana More. I hope, I want to get this right. Hold on a second. Yeah, May of 73. Kevin Ayers, Banana More. You know, again, it's another Kevin Ayers album. Some good songs, some kind of throwaway things, as is the nature of his music. You know, some things are going to work, some things are going to take time to grow on you. But folks, for the price of this little, whatever this costs, 20, 30 bucks, you can't go wrong. All remastered, pick them up. You know, pick them up. And you know what? I haven't even been showing you guys this, but from the 3rd through 7, Soft Machine is another one of those little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disc box sets for the same price. I don't know, 20, 30 bucks. And, you know, you get these things dirt cheap on Amazon. All right? It's how you can fill the holes in your Kevin Ayers and your Soft Machine discography in your home collections. Okay, so 7, another album from 73. All right? Perhaps a bit better than 6, you know? They seem to want to change in direction after this. I'll tell you who's on this album. Ratledge, Marshall, Jenkins, Babington. I don't even remember Babington. All right. Soft Machine, 7. Got tired of using the, you know, numbers for their titles. Who would think they were? Chicago. 74. This is the last Kevin Ayers album I have, but it's a good one. Considered to be one of his better ones by many people. I honestly don't think that this is any better than, you know, the other ones that I showed you, but maybe I'm just not much of a fan to be able to really tell the difference. This is The Confessions of Dr. Dream and Other Stories. A slightly more commercial edge, I think, to this one. That might be why some people like it. You know, I mean, you can't make music like this forever and not expect to get radio airplay. After a while, you start to wonder why you don't have more money. And I never, you know, like look at Captain Beefheart's career, or Zappa. Well, some of Zappa's albums did sell. Okay. In 74, we have the infamous Rock Bottom. I don't even have this album on CD. I've had this CDR now for, good Lord, probably 20 years. But whenever I want to hear it, that's what I play. This is his most famous record. It's probably at least as famous as most, if not all, Soft Machine albums. Rock Bottom, of course, you get Robert singing. It's not really prog in that sense, again, of, you know, like Yes, Genesis, whatever, Gentle Giant, Van der Graaf, but it, you know, it's lumped into the prog umbrella, the prog mainstream by most fans, because it's still Canterbury and these guys all come from the Soft Machine. So there's lots of goodwill here. All right, and before the year ends, I have this Kevin Ayers CD. June 1st, 1974, Kevin Ayers, John Cale, Brian Eno, Nico. This is live. It's a concert that they gave. It's another kind of semi-classic. You know, this is as famous as any Kevin Ayers album. It's good. You get all of the artists doing, you know, rather commercial material. They're performing in front of a live audience. It's a concert. This CD I have, this Island Master, if it's remastered, it doesn't sound like it. But I do enjoy the record. That is it for solo Robert Wyatt and solo Kevin Ayers. Okay, Bundles, Soft Machine. This is a good one. This one's got Alan Holdsworth on it. Let me get to that one. Bundles, Ratledge, Marshall, Jenkins, Babington, and Holdsworth. Alan Holdsworth is one of my favorite guitar players, period, but especially in the prog or the fusion genres. I mean, this guy was one of Eddie Van Halen's heroes, and I highly recommend, well, his solo albums in the 80s and 90s are outstanding. But this is one of his early triumphs, was Bundles. He was in UK, or the first UK album anyway. So he always kind of flirted with prog, known in some circles as a prog player. I think what he really was, though, was more of a fusion guy. But this is my favorite Soft Machine album, for going sequentially after third. Bundles, 1975. All right, Softs, 1976. Who's on Softs? Marshall Jenkins, Babington, John Etheridge, and Alan Wakeman. No more Alan Holdsworth. All right, Softs is pretty good too. By this point, they could almost just churn these albums out with factory-like precision without a tremendous dip in quality. I like this too, not as much as I like Bundles, but this is a fine album too. In 1976, Prog was still kind of going strong. It would not start to go downhill, in terms of the quality of progressive rock albums until the late 70s. Okay, here's a live album, Alive and Well, recorded in Paris. I want to say this is 78, but I want to get it right. Yeah, 78. And who's on this one? Marshall Jenkins, John Etheridge, Rick Sanders, Steve Cook. You can see that the personnel changes in almost every album. That's unfortunate because you lose a sense of unity. But as long as the players are good, all right. This is live. I like it, and this kind of ends their classic run. They don't do anything for a few years. Coming back in 1981. With The Land of Cockaigne. There are so many players on here, guys. I don't even know them all. Marshall Jenkins, Holdsworth. Alan Holdsworth is back, but not for the whole album. Worley, Jack Bruce from Cream. Stu Calver, Dick Morrissey, Alan Parker, John Perry, Twain Rivers, and John Taylor. It's a good record, though. There's a slight 80s feel in the drums and in the production. Some of them, like one of the first songs, kind of sounds like it could be like in a movie soundtrack, but I like it. Like I said, of all the albums I'm showing you, there is no Soft Machine album that I dislike. Now they would go on. I'm going to end the video here. They would go on. What is their next album? 2018, Hidden Details. 2023, Other Doors. But this ends the first run of their albums from 68 through. It is 68, right? Yeah, 68 through 81. I'm going to stop here. One of my favorite prog bands. Hope yours too. Doubt you've ever heard any of these tracks on the radio. I wonder if satellite radio even plays this stuff. You have to be like a lover of LP. Well, to like prog, you need to be a lover of LPs. These guys were not a singles band. But from the Softs, you can move on to Robert Wyatt's solo career. Explore it more thoroughly than I have. Kevin Ayers, who of course continued to make albums after 1974. But I always return to the core Soft Machine albums because they are my favorites. All right, Matt, signing off.